Hello everyone, I'm the Weather Dude, welcome back, and today we're going to be giving more updates regarding Tropical Storm Bill, or potential Tropical Storm Bill, and maybe even becoming a hurricane in the near future, so stay tuned and enjoy. Before we get started, as always, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you guys don't miss out on the latest weather updates, and without further ado, we're just going to get straight into it. We've got major updates between the models, and we've even got updates from the National Hurricane Center now coming out about this. So this is going to be a very interesting video for sure. So National Hurricane Center, the latest outlook, they have a 20% chance of development. This was just updated at 8 o'clock. There's a broad trough of low pressure that's developing around Central America in the southwestern Caribbean Sea. And we call this kind of big area of low pressure. We call this like the Central American Gyre, where a lot of convection can form in this area, especially this time of year. And thunderstorms can, like, if they get enough lift, they can sort of develop from that gyre and then move in their desired direction, obviously depending on the conditions. So regardless of development, heavy rainfall across northern Colombia and Central America and Honduras. Now, the models, as you'll see later in the video, spoiler alert, some of the models, or most of them, do have it tracking into the Gulf of Mexico and potentially a Gulf Coast landfall. Now, whether that's a tropical storm or hurricane, we don't know yet. We're not even 100% sure that it will make landfall in the Gulf Coast states, but it could go over some ocean water. So even though the National Hurricane Center, this is just through the next 5 days, by the way, the development I'm talking about from this system could be actually after that, and I'll show you why. So this yellow zone is just through the next 5 days. This, what I might be talking about in this video might actually be different than that. So looking at the sea surface temperature anomalies, this is the latest map from yesterday. I think like they update it every day. So tomorrow, June 9th, they're going to have the June 8th map because they have to collect the data for the day. But notice right around the Caribbean where the storm is forming, as well as the southwestern part of Gulf of Mexico, the waters are pretty far above average. Like I'd say 1 to 2, maybe even a little bit higher than that, degrees Celsius above average. All right, and in the Gulf of Mexico, in the northern part, is average to maybe slightly below average. But as you'll see when I pull up the sea surface temperature map, it's still above 80 degrees, as you can see right here. So as long as so the yellow means like around 78-ish, 77, and then that second shade, which is like that orange color, that second shade of orange, that is 80 degrees plus. So pretty much the entire Gulf of Mexico, if not the entire Gulf, is above 80 at this point. And remember, it's not just the sea surface temperatures, it's what's going on below the surface, as I mentioned in the last video. So we'll be talking about that as well. But the reason it's gotten so warm there, obviously, is because the Gulf Stream has something to do with it. And you can see the Gulf Stream right here, some warmer waters right there. I mean, but also the Central American Gyre kind of develops a flow like this. So because of that counterclockwise flow right around there, the very warm waters that you can see like right here in the Pacific, sort of that moist air kind of gets rotated in a counterclockwise rotation. So the warmth just spreads itself everywhere. All right, very warm temperatures, very warm sea surface temperatures without a doubt here. All right, so looking at the Tropical Intensity Index. So currently the Caribbean is pretty good for formation. This changed a lot from the when we looked at this in the last video. So favorable to highly favorable conditions. Now in the southwestern Gulf, not that much, but that can definitely change. There are some parts of the Gulf that weren't there before that are starting to get some oranges and yellows. Some slightly more favorable conditions are starting to come together. It's kind of like a gradual thing. You can see in the corners here of the Gulf of Mexico, we do see some favorable conditions. But the Caribbean, the northern Caribbean, is starting to get a lot of favorability developing there, and that is definitely concerning for what this storm could potentially do. Dry air, besides for a little bit, it's not even that much, a little bit in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, but the entire Caribbean right now is actually free from dry air. I gotta say, this could be the first time that's happened this season. The eastern Gulf, no dry air to be found, really. Even the eastern seaboard. Really, the only major dry air is out in the East Tropical Atlantic by the NDR region and by Africa. So, with that said, the tropical cyclone heat potential, like I was telling you, is the heat content we have below the ocean surface. So, in the northern Caribbean, we do have a lot of that, and that's where the system, it could be forming around that region, but I think it'll be forming more so in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. So, there is some tropical cyclonic heat. It's low tropical cyclonic heat, but it is still there. Some more moderate amounts as you head towards like the Caribbean and closer to the Caribbean islands. All right, so with that said as well, here we are at the wind shear. Now this could be the only problem, right? Like dry air is on our side. We don't see so much of that. We got good oceanic heat, good sea surface temperatures. pretty much everything's lining up except for the shear. Now, this could change, considering this system might not be developing for another week. This could definitely change, and the trends do point towards that, because if you look in the Gulf of Mexico, shear in this region has dropped 5 to 10 knots in the past 24 hours. So that could be trending downward, right? The northern and central Gulf, really not much wind shear or very little. The southern part of the Gulf and the northern Caribbean, there is a little bit more. But the central Caribbean, like this little part right here, not so bad. Like kind of like where the storm will be in a few days. Not so bad in terms of shear. But the northern Caribbean and the eastern Caribbean, there was a lot of shear, and it has kind of trended upward, as you can see by those white lines in the past 24 hours. The black lines means kind of stay the same. So here we have our NCEP model, ensemble model based probabilities, and you can see right around this region, right around Central America, on the west side and the east side actually. We'll be talking about the east side because we're talking about the Atlantic hurricane season, not the Pacific for today. But 30 to 40% development chance is what they're calling for. And then notice some of the ensemble tracks bring it north into the Gulf of Mexico towards the Gulf Coast states. But we don't know quite yet, and that's very far down the line. Like we're talking maybe 10 days away for that potentially. So we're gonna be getting into the models now, so you guys can see better what I'm talking about. So GFS model, starting off with the precipitation loop, you can see. Look at the low. Like we're getting to next Friday at this point. So like not even this Friday, like next Friday. And you can see the very heavy rainfall indicated by the yellow, oranges, and reds, as you would normally see on a radar. Right? And then it starts to move north, and notice how the pressure drops. And the precipitation organizes itself around the storm. And there you go, 994 millibars of pressure. So getting a pretty strong storm and making landfall with 989 millibars of pressure right there, right near Beaumont, Texas. So around Texas-Louisiana border. Now, the last model run at this same exact frame, right, at 2 p.m. on Sunday, June 20th, the last model run had the storm down here, right? And now you can see that it's kind of, you can see where it's changed, right? So the model has definitely changed, all right? Then it would move north, and then it would move through the southeast, and the southeast and mid-Atlantic would get the remnants of it, and then that would be it. So GFS definitely does say a lot. Now, looking at the moisture, right, you can see the blues. It's kind of rare, I wouldn't say rare, but to see the lighter blues, like the darker blues we see a lot, but the lighter blue is very rare to see. And you can see that when you see the lighter blues, top of the graph, that means we have a lot of precipitable water. And considering how waterlogged Texas and Louisiana has been lately, this is going to be pretty bad. If it were to move through this region, it would be very bad because, like I said before, the sea surface temperatures are 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above average. So that's just even more moisture added to the air than what is already there. All right, so that is something to keep in mind as well. Now, how strong is the system? Cyclonic vorticity signature can show you that, right? Look at the purples, right? Purple's higher end on the energy scale, and even some very bright colors could be towards the top of the scale. All right, so we're talking about, I'll be showing you the wind graphic next up so you can see. But just notice, look at the energy. We still see reds and even a little bit of purple as it moves through the mid-Atlantic. So we're talking about like up on this range, even as it moves through the mid-Atlantic. So this could be if it were to follow this exact track, this would be impacting Texas, Louisiana, and then still maintaining a lot of energy as it moves through the mid-Atlantic. So this could be I wouldn't say coast to coast, from Gulf Coast to East Coast kind of event. These type of storms do happen very often where they will move in, make landfall on the Gulf Coast, and then get picked up by a front and then just kick to the east towards the mid-Atlantic states. That's happened a lot. This could be one of those type of systems. Now let's look at the wind signature, because at the surface winds, 989 millibars of pressure is pretty low. I don't think that's low enough for a hurricane, but this particular model is picking up winds 45 to 50 knots before landfall. So that's probably like, I would say around 55-ish miles an hour, maybe close to 60 if you're at tops. That's what this model is looking at. But the other models do get very interesting as well. This is just a GFS. Right? And then obviously the low will lose a little bit of energy, but still look at the pressure as it's in through northern Alabama. 996 is still very low. Like that's still like tropical storm force winds. Sometimes the models do have a hard time showing the wind speed as it's over land, but 996 millibars, that's pretty much still like tropical storm. And then fading away as it moves over the mountains. If it moves over the Appalachian Mountains, that would really kill it. Because mountains do kill tropical systems. They kill their strength for sure. Now, I was talking about wind strength because rainfall wise, the rainfall that makes it worse, but it does weaken their wind strength, is what I mean. So let's move on to the Canadian model now. All right, looking at the now the precipitation map. So remember, other than the GFS, the Canadian only goes out 10 days. So this is the latest loop I can show you because it's the last frame. Still though, 1,000 millibars of pressure pretty early in the formation here, and you can see very heavy rain on the eastern flank of the storm. All right, and precipitable water pretty much looks similar to the GFS model, I would say. Some very dark greens, and obviously if we were to extend this, but I can't, if we were to, you would definitely probably see some blues. And you can even see a little few specks of them, though they're very hard to see. But the storm definitely, you can just see, watch in this region right here. You can kind of see how, you can just see the green rotating around if you were to play that on a loop. So that's very interesting to see. So there's a lot of precipitable water, as I mentioned earlier. And looking at the cyclonic energy, it looks very elongated. Again, at this stage, it's very early in development. I can't go forward with the frames, but you can see there is a lot of energy. It just needs to get itself organized. And you can see how the numbers, 584, 586, like these lines here? Well, this 591 right here is a high pressure system. And that's going to help to steer it in this direction. And that's why the models have been so confident in a potential Gulf Coast landfall because of that. The high pressure is just kind of like steering it this way. All right, so that's like how the storm's being steered. So with that said, looking at the wind, you can see there's definitely some tropical storm force winds. It's very hard to see. Depending on your device, you might not be able to see. But there are a few little green specks around the system, and obviously 34 knots equals 39 miles an hour, so that is equivalent to tropical storm status. But again, if we could extend this further, it'd probably be stronger, but I guess we will just have to wait over the next couple of days to see what model runs they release further from there. Now, the European model is very interesting. This is the 12Z latest run. If the European model is correct, if it plays out like this, I would be very worried if you live on the Gulf Coast, and I'm going to show you why. So here's a system already after, this is day 5, so this is Sunday. You can already see it's starting to get circular the second it leaves land. You can already start to see energy organized, and by the time it gets into the Bay Campeche, otherwise known as the southern or southwestern Gulf of Mexico, you can see it is starting to develop. All right, you can already see it coming together, and then this is pretty much right where it becomes a tropical entity, I'd say, if it were to play out like this. This is Thursday morning, and there's Friday morning. It gets bigger and it gets badder. All right, very strong system, dark reds at its core, like top of the scale here. It is I would say it's an average size system. It doesn't look very small, but it definitely, from how it looked right here, it definitely expanded from Thursday morning to Friday morning. It really expanded. And notice, we might have to talk about some on the Pacific side as well, but we're focusing on what's right here today, potentially what could become Bill. All right, so looking at the wind graphic, now keep in mind, European model, the wind graphic is for winds about 4,000 or 5,000 feet, but these winds can translate themselves to the surface. So just keep that in mind. All right. So look at the winds. We see some reds at this point. So this is about 52 knots or 60, 65 mile an hour winds. Again, this is a couple or a few thousand feet up, but these can translate themselves to the surface. And look, there's 985, and there's purples, and 64 knots equals 74 miles an hour. So yeah, that's your hurricane. This would be a category 1 hurricane right here. And the pressure backs me up here because 985 is about low enough for a category 1 hurricane. So you can't just say like, oh, these are the winds a few thousand feet up. No way these winds will be that strong at the surface. All right, but 985 millibars of surface pressure definitely does say that, yeah, this could be a category 1 hurricane. And this could be a cat 2 by landfall. So European model does have me and probably you watching pretty worried. All right, so last couple maps, and here's the winds to kind of back me up here. Frequent gusts of 80, 85 miles an hour plus on the northeast quadrant, according to the European model. So definitely something to watch out for. And just like a little map from the NOAA, you can see tropical development around that Central American gyre between June 9th and June 15th. Looks like moderate confidence in tropical cyclone formation. And look, right in that same Gulf of Mexico region from June 16th to June 22nd, same thing goes. So definitely got to be on the lookout here over the next week or so. Sea surface temperatures, Bay Campeche, if this is where the storm were to exit, 85 degree waters is warm enough. All right, and then moving north, 81, 80. If it were to move in this direction, it'd be dealing with 80-degree plus waters pretty much its entire journey. So Gulf of Mexico can definitely supply those, warmer waters for sure. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for updates. I am the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time, I will catch you guys in the next video.